I'm Tessa Brinkman. I'm a flutist and composer, and according to my father, when I was about 3 or 4, I'm a troublemaker, and it's part of my feminist identity. I'm originally from New Zealand. I have New Zealand and South African heritage, and I'm living in the United States in Oregon. Been there for decades now. So I have multiple cultural identities, a strange melange of identities. So I was lucky enough to on my mother's side, to have a family that is heavily invested in the arts. So my grandparents are artists, my great uncle's a really well-known poet. I grew up around art, and the idea that art was a normal, everyday activity, and that it was extremely valuable. It was part of how we examine the world. So I experience music as a very communal, happy, everyday thing. The creativity in that, the exploration of that, the idea of feeling your own virtuosity freely every day was a really wonderful thing. I'm very fortunate that it happened. So it's to be a flutist, and to be a female flutist is to really, you have to work really hard to be understood and to frame what you do in terms of the repertoire you choose that's written by someone else, or the stuff that you create as a composer. How do you become heard in a concert venue in a way that takes people deeper than their own stereotypes? I mean, there's such a lot of pressure on music to be this sort of conservative, give people what they want. So my job as a curator also is to think, how can I present music in a way that gets around that very, very cunningly? So in writing this piece that I'm writing, which is entitled Box, Grown Men Sing, which is a direct quote from one of the men. It's dealing with solitary confinement and the industrial prison complex in the United States. And this new word that I discovered a few days ago, kyriarchy, which is sort of a development of this idea of the patriarchy. So the kyriarchy really explores the intersectional violence and control of people by the few, by those who have the money and the resources, through government and through industry, and the way the prison industrial complex is become more and more of a frightening prospect. It came from this idea of the panopticon, like a few centuries ago, from a physical panopticon to the virtual panopticon, the idea of being surveilled and having the one-eyed monster be able to surveil all the cells or all the other people without being seen back, and this idea of objectification. So these are ideas that I'm exploring through this composition that I've been writing, which is based on 3 interviews with 3 men who experienced solitary confinement in the California prison system over different decades. So it's electroacoustic music that's pre-recorded, which I've been composing, and then there's a bass flute part. Music, when you write it, and especially with literary content, it can destroy the meaning of something in a matter of seconds. So how to write that in a way that is not sentimental, that is not objectifying in itself, that really allows the participants, the audience, to really have some kind of feeling in some kind of way in which they can feel what the men have gone through and what other people are going through. I mean, this is a worldwide phenomenon, a worldwide oppression that we're dealing with.